Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's BDF44 coming at you with another video. All right, so we got a less heavy topic to talk about on this one. So Shai Gilgeous-Alexander basically self-proclaimed himself as the Black Steve Nash. Now, I got all the respect in the world for Steve Nash. I think Steve Nash is one of the greatest assist men of all time. One of the greatest magicians of the basketball in terms of passes, in my eyes, I've ever seen. Passes that I didn't even know were possible. Angles and creative ways of getting the ball to people, forcing ball through tight windows, and amazing bounce passes. You talk about a magician with the basketball. Maybe 3 or 4 people could do the things that Steve Nash can do. Maybe 3. You understand what I'm saying? That's how real of a passer Steve Nash was. So I got all the respect in the world for Steve Nash. And that's why I can say, Shai and Steve Nash are nothing alike. They don't have, their games are nothing alike. Steve didn't win a championship, and Steve didn't play any defense. You don't want to be Steve Nash. Now, I like Steve Nash's game, and he complimented his teams amazingly. He fit in every situation he was put in. But I think Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is taking a different direction with his development and career and his style of play and all that. I don't see the correlation at all. This reminds me of one of those situations where a guy doesn't really watch too much of a guy's highlights. He just knows of a guy's accomplishments and knows of a guy's games. He's like, I want to be the next that guy. But it's like, if you watch his game, you realize, I'm actually nothing like that guy. I think that's kind of how that goes. But as far as Shai being great and being able to reach heights like that, he has to do a lot if he wants to get there. Like, that ain't nothing to play with. Steve Nash got, 3 MVPs? I mean, you got some things to do to get to that level. But as far as your strengths and your weaknesses and what he was ultimately able to accomplish as a teammate, you want to reach higher, man. Honestly, you definitely want to be better on the defensive end, and you definitely want to get a championship in your life. You know what I mean? So when I think of that, and I don't mean to be disrespectful to Steve Nash, but when I talk about the type of players that I think about should be wanting to try to come into the league, you should definitely spend a lot of time trying to make yourself as effective as possible on the defensive end. And I think Steve Nash, had he come into the league now, I'm sure he would have made it a greater point to understand defense better and understand how he could be effective better if it were something that were mandatory. But I think it will be going forward. It's going to be kind of hard. You looked at as such a liability in the NBA. At this point, when you cannot defend, when you cannot shoot the 3, unless you fit into a system and you're really, really tall, like Rudy Gobert or something like that. Other than that, if you are not able to defend or you ain't able to shoot the ball or both, there's going to be less money on the table for players like that going forward, and less opportunities in the NBA for guys like that going forward. It's just too many diverse players coming in who can do too many different things. Gifted athletes that are coming in over the next several years. It's getting to a point where I understand, and that's why I'm saying it this way. You really do have to try to become a complete player going forward, even if you're a 7-footer or even if you're very small. You gotta be able to do everything. You gotta be able to pass, shoot, rebound. You got to understand pick and roll. You got to understand different defensive schemes. You got to know all kinds of different stuff. It's not the old NBA. You can't just come in and just be good on one side of the ball and expect to get the type of love that Steve Nash got in terms of MVPs and All-Star appearances. The NBA is just the talent level is increasing. That's what I'm telling y'all. It's just the guys are getting better and they're more versatile and they're more dominant physically. Being a one-trick pony, there's not going to be a lot of room in the NBA for guys like that. Or a one-sided player, even more so. You got to be extraordinary, Steve Nash, because if you're not, and you can't play both sides, you're going to be sitting some. It is what it is. Not to say that Steve Nash wouldn't be playing and dominating now, because he would be, no question about it. But on one side of the ball, he would need to be on certain teams if he want to win. Teams that could hide him defensively, teams that can have long players around him, block shots, stuff like that. There's a reason why he didn't have a championship, and sometimes looking back at some of those teams, it's because of certain things lacking that they needed on the defensive end. So, being that Shea has that as a strength, very bad comparison. I look at Shea as somebody who can defend very well, who plays both sides of the floor. Um, so that's why I just kind of looked at it and said, nah, you may want to do a little homework on Steve Nash before you compare yourself to that particular person. But as far as his accolades and how many MVPs he won and stuff like that, that's definitely a good thing to want to shoot for sure. You know, he's a Hall of Famer, first ballot, I'm sure. So it's nothing to talk about. That's a great player. Aim higher. My name is BDF44. Thank y'all for watching. I'm out.